Hi, it's Karen, and today I want to talk to you about some lessons learned from a live video stream that I did yesterday to a conference in Moscow, Russia, with a group of amazing coaches. And the conference was held on Thanksgiving my time, but I was really happy to be one of 7 presenters. I was actually the last presenter. And before I go into the lessons learned, here's a little bit about me. I support external coaches who want to grow their businesses with ease and joy. And the clients who get the very best results with me are those who have come from the corporate world and are working in businesses and organizations and want to increase their client base, increase what they're already doing. So let's go into the first lesson because this is just so exciting. So the first lesson is after 7 presentations, I said I was the last one, the participants told me that they had learned something and heard something from me that they had not heard before. And I was kind of stunned by this because, there's nothing new under the sun. And I was talking about the coaching niche to this group. So here's what happened. I always say that the niche is your sweet spot of number 1, your passions, number 2, your experiences, and number 3, the challenges of your ideal clients. So those are the 3 things that I put together, and I say, the sweet spot of those, where those all connect, is the niche that you're going to be really successful in. And you have to have a passion for what you're doing. Because if you only have the experience and you're able to help your clients through their challenges, you're going to burn out sooner or later. I mean, I experienced that in corporate. I was good at what I did. I had the experience. And I did somewhat enjoy what I did, but I did not have the passion 100% for estate planning. I had 50-50. 50% I loved talking with the clients and finding out how they wanted to leave their legacy and spend their retirement and all that. The other 50% that I didn't love was going and doing all the number crunching. So I didn't have a passion for that whole thing, and I did really burn out. So one question that always comes up is related to the passion. How do I differentiate myself from all other coaches in the world? And this is the differentiator. This is it. Be yourself. It's really a simple answer. When you are in a state of excitement, of thrill about what you're doing, when you are really committed, when your heart and soul is in it, then being yourself will be the best thing you can do to differentiate yourself from anyone else in the world, because there's no one like you. There's no one with your particular style. There's no one with your particular vision. There's no one except for you. So I remember years ago, if you ever remember this professor in a university in California called Leo Buscaglia, and he wrote a book called Love in the 70s. It was one of my favorite books for a long time, probably still is. And he used to say, if you are a plum and you want to be a banana, you're only going to be a second-rate banana. You cannot be the best banana because inside you're a plum trying to be a banana. But if you be a plum, if you want to be the best plum there is, then you can be the best plum because that's coming from the inside out. So I want to say the way to differentiate yourself, the lesson I've learned, the thing that really surprised the coaches in Russia was I was telling them, you have to have passion. You have to be yourself. And when you do, you can differentiate yourself from everyone else because there's no one like you. And that really is true. Now, the second lesson I learned is interesting too, be yourself. But the second lesson I learned was we are all one. We really are all one. We all have a very, very similar desires and goals. And, I was concerned about this presentation because my mind was getting a little caught up in, what's the economy like in Russia? Are there entrepreneurs? What are the certain niches that are really popular? All kinds of the doing stuff. And so I actually asked for a pre-meeting with the person who invited me into the conference to ask them about the different niches and about what life was like in Russia in terms of being a coach. And I got one piece of information that was very helpful. And when I got off the phone, I kind of thought, you know what? We are all one. We want the same things. We have the same fears, the same desires, all of that. So that call was very helpful for me. And yet I realized I really didn't need to have that call. I just needed to speak from my heart and soul. And once I got on the presentation, the coaches were tracking. They understood. They were asking similar questions to any questions that I had had with this presentation anywhere else in the world. We are all one. We all have those similar desires. And so this was very inspiring to me. And it was a great lesson for me to just learn again and again and again that even though someone seems like they are very different, we are actually very much the same. Okay, I'm going to go into my next lesson. And the next lesson I learned was you are enough. This lesson was really partly about me and partly about my clients. So I was kind of nervous going into this presentation because I wanted to do a really great job. And I knew I was the last one, so there were lots of people that went before me. And the speaker before me, I was sitting there and she had all kinds of slides and she had grids and matrices. And it was a very serious presentation in a way with lots of great information. And I was actually enjoying it quite a bit. Oh, I see Demos. Welcome, Demos. I see others that are here. Welcome to all. But anyway, I was nervous because I thought, oh my gosh, what do I have that can really bring some inspiration to this group? You know, all I have is a few simple ideas and some stories because that's kind of my style. That's who I am. And I was concerned that it might not be taken seriously or it wouldn't be the right presentation for everyone, that I wouldn't give great value, which is something I really want to do. And I was thinking about this in terms of my clients because in corporate coaching situations, it sometimes seems that we have to be really serious or really cold. Oh, hi, Laura. Good to see you there, too. It seems we have to be really serious or really cold and extra professional. And it can bring out some of the perfectionist tendencies and in all of us. And yet, what I really know in this presentation and in corporate, people buy from people. People want to relate to people. And I'll give you a quick story about I had about a 2.5 year engagement as an executive coach at Ford. And here's how I got in. It wasn't serious at all. In fact, it started with me being an instructor at International Coach Academy, ICA. And what happened was there was one Friday where one of the instructors was not feeling well, and I took 2 of her classes back to back. And I really didn't want to be there because Fridays is not my great day for delivery or coaching. But I wanted to support my fellow instructor. So I did. I got on the calls, and on both of those calls were a couple that were going through the program, and they also had worked at Ford Motor Company. And I really got to know them, Audrey and Rich Zavatsky. And every time I talk about this, I'm just thinking of Rich because he has since passed, and he was a character. He was an amazing guy. Anyway, they were on the calls, and I met up with them on those calls, and we really connected. So when it came time for Ford to hire some external coaches, Audrey reached out to me and said, would you like to put your resume in? And I said, yes. So I put my resume in, and here's how the universe works. Here's how everything comes together. I put my resume in, and they had a training on a Friday, an orientation for all the coaches, and I wasn't invited, and I didn't know anything about it. And Audrey contacted me and said, why weren't you on the training? And I said, I never got anything. I wasn't invited. And the person who was doing this training orientation said, oh my gosh, you didn't get invited because I didn't turn my piece of paper over and see your name on the back. So by that, I knew I was the last one that they had chosen, which is very interesting. And they chose a lot of coaches. I don't know what there were, 20 something to start out with. And then as time went on, I did so well and I really enjoyed it. And when there were different clients that did not do well with their coaches, they would send them over to me as a second coach. And every one of them stayed with me and wanted to coach more with me. So it was interesting. And what also is interesting is that by the end of the 2.5 years, they only had, I think, 3 external coaches because they were bringing this all in-house. And I was one of the last people standing. So it was a very interesting way that this all happened. It happened by relationships. It happened by me getting onto that, to those calls and doing a favor for a colleague who wasn't feeling well. It happened by connecting with people. It happened for me knowing that I was enough, even though I was the last one in, and knowing that I could do it. So, and the other thing that happened, so it wasn't so serious. The other thing that happened is the topic of many of these sessions was personal, work-life balance, family challenges, how to be an inspiring leader to their team, all about transformation. It was not transactional coaching. And I think sometimes we feel like we want to do transformational coaching. We can do that in the corporate setting. We are enough. It's just amazing to think about this. And I could actually, going back to my presentation when I was presenting lessons learned, I was myself. I came as me. And I told my stories and I shared my wisdom. And I didn't have like a lot of grids or serious stuff on there, but I did have things that were very, that would really help them and were very practical. And I could feel a relief in the presentation as they said to me, after 7 speakers, you're the first person that we heard that said that we can have our passions in our niche. You're the first person that told us that we need to get in touch with our essence energy and begin within. And I was kind of surprised about that, being the first person. And I was so excited because they need to hear that message, because this is a message of coaching all over the world. So the biggest lesson that I can share with you here is be yourself. Seriously, that's going to make you unique. That's going to make you stand out to your ideal clients. Strategies and tactics are great. And I say, yes, learn those. I learn those. I share a lot of those with my clients. The most important thing that I give to them is how can they be themselves and how can they really show that to their potential clients? So I would love it if you would share any takeaways that you had from this short little, I don't know if I would call it a training. I guess I would call it lessons learned. And understand that the biggest thing that you can give to your clients is to be yourself and to help them to be themselves. And I want to thank you for being willing to be a coach in this world. And I want to encourage you, if there are any takeaways or insights or aha moments, to just put those in the comments. I really appreciate you being part of my community and my colleagues in coaching. What we do here is so very important. And you inspire me by doing this work right alongside of me. Okay, have a wonderful weekend. Happy belated Thanksgiving. We had our Thanksgiving holiday yesterday. And remember, be yourself.